how they deal with money is vastly different from the bottom 80%. And it's also different from the 15%. So today I learned, as I sit here on the floor of my nephew's bedroom. So I'm at home right now with family for the holidays. But I wanted to make sure I got one of these out because I learned something pretty cool today, actually. It has to do with money again, so just like yesterday's episode, but this one is something I truly didn't know, and it came from a really interesting source. So I was scrolling through YouTube and popped up on this video by a gentleman named Tom Ferry, I believe is his name. And he was doing a speech at some event, whenever, but he was talking about the 5, 15, 80 rule. So the 5%, 15%, 80% rule. And it had to do with primarily how people utilize their money, how once they get paid, what they do with that money, how they treat it, how they manage it. And it was super, super interesting. So I wanted to make sure that I shared it here right now. Of course, I am going to link up to that video in the description because I highly, highly recommend watching it. It's only about 18 minutes, but it was really, really interesting and eye-opening. And before I jump into it, if you like this video, if you like what I'm trying to do here, if you like the student-first approach to helping other people, be sure to subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be dropping more of these pretty regularly. So make sure you subscribe right now. Okay, so the 5%, 15%, 80% rule. Basically what it means, so you have your 5%. So this is 5% of the population, 5% of earners, that sort of thing. So your 5%, and how they deal with money is vastly different from the bottom 80%. And it's also different from the 15%. So let's start at the bottom, which Tom does in the video. So 80% gets a paycheck, and that paycheck goes directly into their personal account. Now, Tom argued that this is a mistake, and that paycheck should be going through a business account first in order to save on taxes. Now, that's applicable for a lot of people, freelancers, people that are sort of in control of their income a little bit more, but not applicable if you have a job. At least I don't think so. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I'd actually love to know that. But the idea is that you get your paycheck, you get paid, and it directly goes into your personal account. From that, what ends up happening for those 80%, and I know I've been guilty of this my entire life, is you end up just spending it. You end up buying things or paying bills or whatever it is, and you have no real understanding of how much money is being used towards what. And so what this creates is a constant feeling of not having enough, and a constant feeling of not knowing what your money is doing. And so by the end of the month, you realize, I don't have anything left over, because either it got spent sort of absent-mindedly, or it got just paid out into bills, and you didn't have any understanding of how that was happening. So that's the bottom 80%. That's where I think most people fall into. Now, the 15%, this is kind of like the upper middle class. What they do with their money, they get paychecks. So first of all, they've got multiple streams of income. Paychecks that first go through a business account. So like an LLC, an S Corp, practice, or rather a partnership, goes through this business account in order to save on taxes. From there, they immediately push money into a tax account. So this is a separate account that is just designed to hold money that is going back to the government. So that way they're always on top of taxes. Then from there, another portion, let's say 33%, goes to a business expenses account. So this is to cover salaries, marketing, like all of sales process, like all the different things that are required to drive more money back into it. And then finally, the last 34%, roughly, these numbers can be whatever you want them to be, goes into that personal account. So with this system, that 15% have a pretty good understanding of where all their money is going. They have consistent money going back into taxes, so they never have to worry about being behind or high fees or anything like that. They have consistent money going back into making more money, so those business expenses, and then they have consistent money paying out to them that they can choose to do with whatever they want. And this creates a pretty interesting system of basically just low level financial freedom. You get to a point where you don't have to worry all that much, because as long as money's coming into the funnel, everything else is getting taken care of. Now, the top 5%, these are the millionaires, these are the billionaires. They do something interesting. So the same system as the 15. They get paychecks, so multiple streams. That's a requirement. They get those checks, and the first chunk goes into their tax account, separate bank account, or rather goes straight into the business account, then tax account, that's a separate bank account, then business expenses account, then into not their personal account, but into an investment account. So it goes into a third separate bank account that is meant to hold money for investing. Now, from that investing account, they divvy it up even further. They send money into like a 401k or a Roth IRA or a 529 college plan or real estate fund or cash, like just fund money. Like basically the difference here across the three, forget about the numbers, forget about the different bank accounts. Really what it ultimately comes down to is how detailed do you know what your money is doing? Like, do you know what your money is doing? And this is important because money is just a tool, and this is something that he was talking about in the video. Money is just a tool. It's not good nor bad. It's just a thing that exists, and as a result of that, there's a system of using that money. There's a system of being in control of that money rather than the money being in control of you. And what it comes down to is knowing what your money is doing, knowing where your money is going, and being positive as to where every single penny is being allotted. If you can do that, if you can get that level of control, then all of a sudden you'll always be on time with bills. All of a sudden you'll always be on time with taxes. All of a sudden you'll always be on time with the important things that are required to make you more money. And maybe you end up with money left over that is just fun money, or maybe you don't end up with money left over, but the important things are taken care of always, and you're able to continue living and giving yourself an opportunity to thrive. Now, it's important to say here that this works regardless of how much you make. So it's one of those things that when you let's say you are just barely scraping by, you're really not bringing in enough to survive or thrive, and you're just making it month to month. It's not about this thought process, this mindset around money isn't about becoming rich necessarily. So you can be making the bare minimum to survive and still put in the effort to understand where your money goes. If you can put in that effort, you'll start to have less anxiety around it. You'll start to have less fear around it. You'll know what your limits are. And that's ultimately what you get out of this. It's not so much a system to get rich. It's more a system to build an opportunity to just understand what's going on with your money. So I don't know. It's something I haven't totally tested out yet. I just learned it today, but it is something that I've started to do over the last year or so just by accident, because I felt more organized if I could have separate accounts for things. And I've personally seen enormous change from the very small version of it that I've done. I mean, I'm never late on paying bills anymore. I automate everything. Money is constantly in those accounts to ensure that those bills get paid, even if that means not paying myself. And so I can definitely refine my system more now that I've seen this talk, now that I've heard this 5%, 15%, 80% breakdown. But I think it's something that we can all sort of look at our own situation and figure out how to do better from. So that's what I learned today. I hope you enjoyed it. Link to that video is in the description, so make sure you check it out. It's right here on YouTube, but it is fantastic, super, super valuable. I'm actually going to link to it in, I'll link to it right here, like right there-ish. Hopefully that works in editing. So yeah, go check that out. And that's all. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.